we don't even know what episode of the Parker and Bennis podcast there is at this point, but rest assured, I think if you look through the YouTube, you will probably know what it is. I mean, since the first episode of the Parks and Bennis podcast, Watford have had about 10 managers. Palace fans drive themselves insane on Twitter.
No one's made that joke before.
And Liverpool fans just whinge on Twitter. So we've got all bases covered here on the Parks and Bennis podcast with me, the relatively
Angelic Blues.
the relatively satisfied Everton fan, apart from the fact that we still pay Cenk Tosun about 80 grand a week, and I feel like that's really disgusting in the current climate.
Not if we've got anything to say about it. We've apparently inquired for him again. Yeah.
Come on, Roy. Yeah, well, as you can probably hear in the corner somewhere, George is with us. How are you, mate?
I'm all right. If Cenk Tosun does show up at my club by the end of the window, I will not be responsible for my actions. But apart from that, I'm okay.
Oh, goodness. Someone called Cenk Tosun before a Turkish barber on the run. Well, as always, we're joined by Aaron. How many Watford managers have we gone through since we've last spoke?
I just feel privileged to haven't been able to watch Watford for about a week.
Yeah, well, Troy Deeney's got all bases covered between.
Come on, we all know Troy Deeney will take charge anytime soon.
He's getting until the end of the season.
At least it's someone that we'd actually back.
He'll think he's getting backed as well by the fans, and the fans probably hate him at this point.
He's so fortunate that fans haven't been allowed into the stadium.
Yeah, well, yeah. So while Aaron moans about Watford in his head, we're going to go to Sam. Are you okay, mate?
Yeah, I've been watching quite a bit of football. Maybe not the football we're talking about today, but hopefully I can input somehow. Mainly.
Your mate just before La Liga. Have you watched Getafe?
Yes. And I know they're your club because they just sit back and do nothing, but it works. Yeah. So there you go. I'm sure we'll get on to that.
That's why it's from breaking me head. Anyway, Atletico are top of the league, so we're just gonna we're basically just gonna go through the situation of football at the moment in the Premier League and just see our thoughts on every team. The title race we'll start off with, and it's quite berserk at the moment because Liverpool really have the chance to sort of get some daylight between themselves and everybody else, and a mixture of Sam Allardyce, Steve Bruce, and Ralph Hasenhüttl will stop them from doing so. I mean, we've got all bases covered there as well between them three, but they've all stopped Liverpool in some way. We'll start with Liverpool. Are Liverpool still top of the league?
I think they are goal difference. I think them and United level on points, but United have got a game in hand.
Second, for God's sake.
So, God knows.
God knows. So we'll go with Sam. What's going on with Liverpool?
Well, until about last week, I was still feeling pretty confident about winning the title, and I sort of still am. But it's starting to dawn on me how if Fabinho gets injured, we have Reece Williams and Nat Phillips, who is a Bundesliga 2 level player, and Reece Williams, who was on loan at Kidderminster Harriers last year, as our centre-backs. The last game we played Henderson and Fabinho at centre-back, which I think if we hadn't gone 1-0 down in the first minute would have been a bit of an issue having Henderson at centre-back, but because we had the ball the entire game anyway, it sort of played into our hands a bit. Yeah, I still think we'll win the league. We could do with another centre-back on loan till the end of the season, as I say, because it was ultimately the lack of experience that cost us points against West Brom. And then Newcastle and Southampton, we were just poor. But I think with the injuries, with various things, you can't blame them, and it's going to be a close run. But I still think we'll win it, and any silverware this season I'll take.
Well, me too. No, the way I look at Liverpool at the moment is that I think they're going through a bad run, but I think every team at some point is going to have a bad run, and I would back Liverpool to have a lot less bad runs than the rest of the team and ultimately win the league, even if they seem to have no fit centre back. If you put a gun to my head, I would still say Liverpool would win the league. But it's them or Man City, is now. Still think, but
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because Dan on our podcast is also a Liverpool fan. He said he doesn't think they're going to win the league because he just thinks with both their centre backs out for so long, it's just not possible. And I suppose with the sort of run of games that they've had, all right, West Brom and Newcastle, they also couldn't score. The defence wasn't that bad, but it was more the attack that was the problem. But I think he's kind of got a point. Like they really, if they sign a centre back in January, then I'd back them to win the league. But they don't seem that urgent to. So I'd say it's very up in the air at the minute.
I think we will start to get players back as well, though. You can't rule out how important Thiago's going to be. I think that Thiago signing probably wins us the league. Jota will be back in about a month, who everyone seems to have forgot existed, even though he was our best player for the first couple of months of the season. And then probably Van Dijk will probably be back for the last month of the season as well, with any hope. So I think we're only going to get stronger, and the fact we're already top of the league, I think we'll be there. We'll be all right.
Well, if you're struggling for a centre back, Alfie Jones' new favourite centre back, Craig Dawson, seems to be doing the rounds at the moment. So just for a few million for him.
Craig Dawson in a high line.
Do you know what?
He'll elbow the opposition goalkeepers while he's at it. That's one thing you can guarantee out of him.
Do you know what I'm looking forward to the most, though? Is on West Ham are convinced that he's so good, so they'll sign him. But then they'll inevitably sack Moyes for an expansive manager, and we all know what happened with an expansive manager.
Yeah.
Can we just have a moment while we're on West Ham, moment for Sebastian Haller, who signed for Ajax today for 25 million euros?
Yeah, I mean,
and the money's going to go to Frankfurt for the outstanding fee that they've got to pay for him, so they're technically not even getting any money for him.
And apparently they're re-signing.
Strike again.
And apparently they're re-signing Arnautovic just by the fact he walked out of the mid-season.
Don't worry, I'll be saying how much Arnautovic loved the club in a month, so we all know how this one ends.
Yeah.
How long before Souček's up front? You don't get that because
I'm convinced he scores every single week.
They should just sign Origi because if he play us, Origi will score. Yeah. Anyone who's still got to play Everton twice, just get Origi on loan. He always scores against us.
He does, despite the fact he's awful.
Yeah, I mean,
he turns into.
He's still better than Cenk Tosun. I'm saying nothing.
Yeah, I can't comment about getting crap players back when we're supposedly lining up Cenk Tosun. I mean, God knows what our thinking is there. We have this thing where we just can't seem to let a player go whenever we sign them, whenever we scout them. Like names are slipping me now. I mean, Eze is the obvious one, but he's kind of the exception because he's actually good. But most of the others are just players who even ones that we sign that turn out to be bad, we just don't seem to leave alone for some reason. Like we're just stubborn in that regard.
We've got a long list of bad players. You can be stubborn with if you want. I'll write a list down if you want. Bo Besic. You can have them all. So I'm going to start off. I'm going to ask predictions for the title and then go around. So Aaron, who do you think is going to win the league?
I feel like Liverpool have to win the league. I don't know if I'm just overlooking the other teams because I know they're only there a goal difference, but we can't be having Ole Gunnar Solskjaer winning the Premier League.
No,
Leicester, while they're a great team, they're not. I can't see them winning the league. Spurs are great, but they've fallen off. I feel like they've fallen off a bit in terms of a proper title challenge, and Man City haven't looked anywhere near as good as they have been. I know they've got 2 games in hand and they're only 4 points off, but I feel like it should be Liverpool's despite all the injuries, and they're now going to have some players, the likes of Thiago, coming back very soon.
You know how this is all going to end? Dean Smith's going to win the Premier League and we're never going to be seen online again.
I'll deactivate my Twitter account if Dean Smith wins the Premier League.
For the record, I'm not sure I've said a negative word about Dean Smith ever, so you can count me out of this one.
I don't even mind them now. I just feel like I've kept her up so long.
Yeah.
No turning back.
We'll get on some of my agendas later on. The further down the league we go, the more agendas I have. That's just proper.
Pretty much.
I don't care about the top 6. We just happen to be in here at the moment, I think. Yeah.
How close to the Owen Parks table can we actually get? That's what really matters in life.
Yeah. Personally, I would go for Liverpool still too. Like I said before, I think everyone's going to have a bad run. multiple bad runs, but I just think ultimately Liverpool will have the least amount of bad runs. And I just think there's a lot of consistency there, even with the injuries. A lot of good players. I still think Liverpool win the league. George, who's your money on?
I've got a funny feeling about Man City, I just think that Liverpool have just been so inconsistent, and until they can start getting players back from injury and start to go on a run, then I'm still very skeptical about them. And City have they had a bad start to the season by their standards, but they pulled themselves together a lot. I think the defense as well. I think Stones and Garcia, two backs, not Garcia. Garcia's the one that go to Barcelona. Ruben Diaz. The games they've started together, I think they've won 7 and drawn 1. So if they keep starting, if they keep starting, which is a big if to be fair, then I think they'll probably have enough to go through, to see it through, because everyone's throwing away the league at the minute, and I think City are the only team that are actually continuing to win. But it'll be the big games for them that define it, I think. Because I think they're still going to go to Liverpool. They've still got to play Spurs at home. So those are games like that are very easy to slip up. But if they win their 2 games in hand, they're back on top of the league. So
yeah, Sam, I'll go to you.
Yeah, I've already said I think Liverpool will win it, but I think will almost be by default because of how poor everyone else is. Man City, closest contenders. I am slightly worried at the moment because they're picking up a bit of form, but over the last, it's since the start of last season now, whenever they have looked like they're starting to get a bit of momentum, they fall off again, and they're not the side they once were. John Stones is making a big difference for them, to be fair. So we'll see, but I think we just win by default. Man United will be nowhere near if any of my friends in a group chat are listening to this.
What was that guy's name who was a Man United fan? Bazim.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
He's having a good time now, isn't he?
Yeah. Fair play to him. He loves Ollie. But until he can park in Ferguson's parking spot, then I'm not rating him.
No, amazing. We'll sort of move on to the top 4 now. I think we're on Man United. I feel, for me, in terms of how I'm going to see it going, I think Liverpool win the league. I think Man City will be second, and I think third and fourth will be United and Tottenham. We'll go to Aaron. Who do you think will make up the rest of the top 4?
I'd agree with that. I think Spurs, for me, should finish third. I think they're looking very good generally. Like I said, I think they've fallen off a bit in terms of the title challenge, but I definitely think they should have another top 4. I'd also just like to say that they're in the League Cup final, and I said they would win the trophy. So we're one game away.
You said you finished 6th. You're not taking credit for that.
Oh no, I'm not. But I'm taking credit for the fact I said they win the trophy. I think Spurs should finish third, and then it's really a toss-up between Man United and probably Leicester. Although I would say if Chelsea do start playing Lampard, they should have a kind of an outside shot. I think while they've got Lampard in charge, they're probably going to finish outside the top 4. I do think they've got a good enough squad. But for now, I'd probably go with Spurs and Man United making up the top 4.
Yeah, that would be how I would see it going. Also, I think Man United have just got, when they played us the other week, you can tell the quality they can bring off the bench, and they can start and then they can make 10 changes and still look really strong. I think for whatever flaws Ole Gunnar Solskjaer might have, I think that really does help them. That's a really strong top 4 team. And Tottenham, I think Jose will get in the Champions League this year and probably win a trophy. So I think they're the 4 strongest teams for me at the moment. George, how do you agree, or do you see anything slightly different?
Yeah, I'd probably say that's about right. I want to back Leicester because I think they deserve top 4. I think the way that they're run as a club, I think that'll be a big step for them. But I think the core of City, United, Liverpool, and Spurs are probably just a bit too strong for them. And like Aaron says, if Chelsea sack Lampard and bring in someone who actually knows what you're doing, then they've got every chance of having that late resurgence and getting 4th. I don't think they can really hope for any more than that after this season, though. But yeah, that's sort of top. I do expect. I think Southampton have an outside chance of getting top 6 as well, not top 4. I think that's way too far for them so far. But the way they've been playing, I think they've got every chance of sort of breaking that sort of established. I mean, the established top six we had before is finished thanks to Arsenal. But like the other,
I
that
can't
sort
believe
of
you
new.
mentioned Southampton over Everton. I'm sitting here shaking my head.
I honestly, I genuinely completely forgot about you until now.
So
But until you can
had I,
stop
yeah.
until you
The
can stop
host of the
losing to West
podcast
Ham
and
at
forgot
home, then
about
I'm
the
not going to
teams
back you for
before.
top six. No chance.
I think, yeah. Well, I'm not going to say anything. I think.
And to be fair, no, I've said that, but they lost. Leicester lost to West Ham and Fulham, so and I'm still backing them. So
Yeah, and we beat Leicester.
well, exactly, yeah.
It was one of our easier games.
Well, I think that's the great thing about this season is, not only is the title race so open, but there's sort of like a top 8 that like any of that lot could finish in the top 4 / top 6. Or there's only 3 or 4 teams maybe that could win the league, but it's still a lot more open than we've had in recent years.
One game at a time for us. We're going to shock you all, and we're going to win it. We won it in October, remember? So it's still ours. It doesn't change. Before we move on to Everton's block, Sam, complete the top 4.
Yeah, City, and then I couldn't tell you the order of Spurs and United, but I think Spurs will be top 4 purely because of Mourinho. I think before the start of the season, I was expecting him to maybe be the first man sacked, and I still think he'll only last 2-3 years at Spurs. But that's sort of a reason why I want Man City to win the League Cup, because even though they'd be breaking our record of most consecutive League Cups,
It's always about Liverpool, isn't it?
It is. if Mourinho, if they do win a trophy, it could go some way to changing the mentality, and he might be there a few more years. Whereas if they lose and they finish 4th, it's just another top season at Tottenham Hotspurs, isn't it? And they've not really accomplished anything again, even though they look like they're going in the right direction.
I think
with Man United,
to that game.
Man United are good going forwards. They get plenty of penalties. They get
bingo.
Yeah, there you go. I knew that was going to come. And for as much as we joke about Fernandes just shooting every time he gets the ball, he's a good player. So yeah, I think they've got too much firepower going forwards. And then the only other one I'd throw in there maybe is Chelsea. It's Chelsea or Leicester. I think I don't really rate Chelsea at the minute. I don't think Lampard knows his best 11. They don't seem to have any sort of idea, because whenever they just look like in a bit of poor form, they'll just throw Giroud in. And as good as Giroud is, he's not a long-term option at the minute. And I don't see them going anywhere at the moment. And then Leicester, I'd like Leicester to break the top 4, but it's Rodgers, and ultimately he never seems to quite finish the job, Rodgers, when it comes to the really big games. So in English football anyway. So yeah, I think I'd go Spurs and United 3rd and 4th.
Don't worry, I'll be bringing up Everton soon, people. We'll carry the torch for Everton. I think on sort of this, it really does baffle me why, as much as in the past I've sort of berated Brendan Rodgers in terms of, like Sam talked, the big games, and he always seems to just go on a bad run. I think he would do a good job at Chelsea personally.
He knows Chelsea as well. He was there before.
I think that'd be a good fit.
Yeah, I think the fans would lose patience with him quickly, like they do everyone though. So
yeah, I mean,
I think Chelsea should go after Thomas Tuchel personally.
Oh, not Thomas.
And I think with Chelsea, so much of Chelsea
most overrated manager of all time.
I think with managing Chelsea, so much of it is about the transfer policy and the recruitment, because they have such a big turnover of managers. The players are there longer than the managers. It's almost the players that run it. And Lampard, I mean, it's early to say, but they don't seem to have got it right this summer. Or Lampard's not using the players effectively anyway. So I think whoever comes into Chelsea, and that's one reason I don't think Rodgers is a great fit, potentially, it's because he doesn't have a great record in the transfer market.
No,
he needs time as well. He has a very sort of his own set way of playing, and I'm not sure that's what Abramovich will look for.
I think he's a good enough manager for Chelsea personally.
I do as well, yeah. But
I mean, they've had Sarri and Lampard, so Rodgers was like Ferguson in comparison to them two. So, I mean, I'm sure they'll be fine. Where'd you both finish? Where'd you all think Chelsea will finish?
I reckon they should finish 5th, but again, it wouldn't shock me if they finish a little bit lower just because they've still got Frank Lampard in charge. And
you really don't like Frank Lampard, do you?
I don't even think he's a terrible manager. I've just always said that he's not Chelsea level at the moment, and that's clear now. I think he'll become a decent manager, but I don't think he'll ever be Chelsea level.
I think he should have stayed at Derby longer, or either that, or taken like a lower Premier League job, like someone like a Palace, ironically. I think I would have. I don't know if I'd say I'd have taken him at the time, but I think he could potentially have done a job with us. But I mean, we may never know that this may end up ruining his career to the point where he can't do it like he did at Derby at smaller clubs. I don't know.
He should have taken the Steven Gerrard route in that Steven Gerrard went to Scotland.
Had his career out with loads of wins in Scotland, yeah.
Seriously, we're now being a lower quality league than the Premier League, much lower. But he's doing very well at Rangers, and I expect him to get a job in England soon. But he won't get the a top job unless Liverpool for some reason sack Klopp. Liverpool are the only place I can see him going, and even that might be a bit far fetched. And that's only for sentimental reasons. Otherwise, I expect when Gerrard comes to England, it'll be at a lower Premier League, so maybe high Championship club.
Steven Gerrard is made for Newcastle. They would love him.
Yeah, every Palace fan under the sun wants him. Every one of our fans wants him, and I just don't see. I think it's too much of a risk personally. I'd like to see him.
Why would I don't know. Another club?
No, I just don't think he'd really fit us that well.
He's a decent manager.
He's got a big decision to make because I don't think he wants to manage against Liverpool, but if he's going to become our manager at some point, he might have to. The only way I can see him coming into us, unless he won the Champions League with Rangers, is by sort of being an understudy to Klopp and Pep Linders for a while, which I'd like to see personally, but I think we're quite a long way off that, yeah. But on the job at Rangers, he's doing a really good job. You look where Rangers were when he came in. They were obviously going to improve because more seasons in the top flight means more money and closer to where they were before. But no one was expecting him to topple Celtic this quickly. And then and I think the real sort of statement is in Europe. He is fantastic in Europe. He's got a bit of Rafa about him in terms of he's not a manager that if you want to play free-flowing football every week and win 5-6-0, he's not for you. He might do it in Scotland, but he's not. What we've seen so far, he's not that type of manager at all.
Why is he defensive?
He's quite defensive, yeah. And when they go into Europe, they are really good in Europe.
Yeah, I'd just like to retract my earlier statement and say that Steven Gerrard is now my number one choice to take over at Crystal Palace.
But as I say,
like that now on the phone. What are we doing?
If it was just in Scotland, then I'd be a bit more what's it called? Like pessimistic maybe or critical. But the fact he's doing it in Europe as well, 2 seasons in a row now, suggests that he is doing a good job and he's not. Because anyone can do it in Scotland. Neil Lennon's won the treble last season, for God's sake, and he's still manager of Celtic. So
I feel like every time you've come on this podcast, I've been asking when's Neil Lennon getting back and he's still there.
They're in Dubai on a training.
Yeah, they're in Dubai after just getting hammered by Rangers in the Old Firm as well.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's another podcast in itself. Celtic at the minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how we mentioned Steven Gerrard there. We are sure where Chelsea would finish.
I also don't know. But anyway.
We'll move on to Leicester and Everton and Arsenal, right? Because I feel like they'll both be in the same similar positions. Do you all agree Chelsea would be 5th or?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think 5th or 6th for me, but 5th is probably more likely given the squad they have.
I think 5th. Chelsea and Leicester 5th and 6th. I think. I don't think you can put much between them.
But as you say, I think we can challenge both of them. But anyway,
I'd have Everton 7th personally.
Yeah, me too.
Or even maybe 6th instead of Chelsea. I'm not sure.
What are your thoughts on Everton then? The preview.
I think it should be Everton, Leicester, and then Southampton for me. They're finishing between 6th and 8th. I think it'll be similar to the 2015-16 season in that there's points-wise there isn't much between them. For me, Everton should be able to finish 7th, and then Southampton, who started our bats for a long, long time. I do think they'll be close to definitely the top 6, maybe points-wise the top 4, but I think they'll probably finish 8th. But so far they're having a very, very good season, and I think that'll continue.
Yeah, I could. I don't. The thing with Arsenal is that I'm just really unsure whether they can finish above any of them 3.
I honestly think Arsenal could finish in the bottom half.
I'll say it's likely at the moment.
Mid-table.
I know they've had them 3 wins, but come on, they couldn't have been any worse than they were.
But they're like 3 points behind Chelsea, which is mad.
Yeah, that sort of like
amazingly
5th to 14th is just like there's about 3 points between all of them. It's so tight. Literally any of them can finish anywhere.
Yeah, if you're asking me, I think we'll finish 7th. I think Leicester will probably finish 6th, and I think Southampton will finish 8th.
I don't think we should knock Everton because they started off very, very well. They had a bit of a blip, but I think they're finding their form and they should have enough for the top 7.
I think with Everton, it's the same as we said at the start of the season, squad depth.
Yeah.
Because when you had everyone fit at the start of the season, you were great. But now when Richarlison doesn't play,
December.
When Richarlison doesn't play, I don't think you've got the same sort of thing going. The same
he hasn't been amazing,
link up with Calvert. No, but he offered like Calvert-Lewin doesn't really offer that sort of flair. I think you need Richarlison. You need a mixture up front. You can't just have as good as Calvert-Lewin is. You can't just have a target man.
I think it's kind of similar. I think it's kind of similar to Sarr with us. Even when he's not performing, it's the presence that he brings. Which makes him so important.
I'll take him.
I think with Everton the thing is
yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of squad depth because I think on your day you really can beat anyone, and I think you have beaten some teams that you weren't that fancied against this season, like Spurs on the first day, for instance. But it's just a case of when you do have those injuries, you become a lot more inconsistent, like against West Ham, like against Southampton, teams like that. So
you look at the fullbacks as well. Like you look at the fullbacks Everton have been playing recently.
We're not playing fullbacks.
Exactly. You're not playing football. Fullbacks. You're playing like Delph at wing back. So
we should be lucky. He's not even in training at the moment. He's injured.
I think for Everton fans, you've just got to wait it out, and it's a good time to be an Everton fan because the owner's going to keep investing money, whether it's sensible or not. Another matter.
This is Liverpool fan talking about Everton bingo.
I am saying it's a good time to be an Everton fan, apart from the part which is being an Everton fan.
Well, yeah. Apart from that bit, you're right. I mean, this is a lot better situation than we've been used to for about 10 years, to be fair. So I'm just going along with it in terms of we're picking up good results. I think we didn't lose in December. We were playing really defensively, but we were getting loads of results. West Ham, they won 1-0, but truth be told, we could have won 1-0. It was that type of game. I think once we get players back like Luca Dean and we've had Luca Dean and Allen injured for the whole of December. We've had a lot of injuries. Richarlison's been in and out. Calvert-Lewin's been sort of flogged every game. I think once we get to a game where we can stay within the mix, I'll definitely back us to get into Europe.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think with Ancelotti, you've always got a chance, haven't you?
I think that's the real key. I think he's been flexible this season in terms of at times we've destroyed teams and played really attacking, but other times we've been playing really deep and on the break in this. So I think we're just finding a way to get results more than anything. So I think Southampton will be 8th after Everton. They've had a really good season. They beat, of course, Liverpool the other day 1-0. Liverpool's third game without a win in the Premier League.
All right.
But they're doing really well. They were one of my pre-season predictions to be a dark horse, and I think they're pretty much proven that. I think there's that Twitter the Twitter account Catenaccio who keeps on retweeting his Ralph Hasenhuttl getting talked about getting sacked, and Graham Potter's getting given a 7-year contract or whatever.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. I completely forgotten those both happened around the same time. Like that sort of, it was 2 years ago now. Like that sort of period. Like you look back on it now and think.
So can we just appreciate taking half an hour for the first Graham Potter mention?
I was gonna say, yeah, especially considering I'm on.
Don't worry, me and George are on the same podcast, Aaron. It's coming soon. Run from it's ready. It all arrives the same. Yeah, but Southampton 8th. Who would you have 9th and 10th?
I feel like it should be between Wolves, Villa, and Arsenal in that bracket. I feel like Wolves. I think I mentioned in the last podcast that Wolves have not necessarily gone under the radar, but because they haven't been anywhere near as good as they have in the last couple of seasons, people aren't really taking as much notice of them. I do think they should have enough for the top half. It might depend on their striker situation because obviously Jimenez is like going to be out for the rest of the season. So I think they'll be around that area. Then you've got Dean Smith, Aston Villa. I won't talk for ages on them. I think they'll be in that bracket. They'll be very comfortable. They'll be, that is the definition of mid-table, isn't it? Between 9th and 11th. So I think they'll be around there. And then you've got Arsenal, who should finish in the top 11 at worst. But it's just very tough to say at the moment because I feel like they picked up a couple of results recently, but all in all, it's not been a very good season for them. So it might just take a few signings in the January window for them to push up the table. But I think it should be those three teams in that bracket at the table.
Yeah,
I certainly think Aston Villa will be 9th.
Yeah, I think from 8th to 10th, I would personally go Villa, Southampton, Arsenal in that order. So from 8th, Villa 8th, and then Arsenal 10th. I think
that's probably going to be the top half, yeah.
I think Villa might drop off a bit. But that's through no tactical analysis. That's just watching them the last few games. I just think Villa might drop off a bit. They'll still be mid-table, but...
Yeah, I don't think Villa will be...
They win one of their games in hand, and one of them's against Newcastle in the top half. So, top 4, excuse me. So, yeah.
It's very close, but I do expect Villa to drop off a little bit, so they won't finish in the top 8, top 9, but I think they'll be in that bracket definitely.
Yeah, I think they'll drop off, but I don't think they'll be any lower than 8th because I think they've got it's particularly a starting 11 now like that. It's a really strong core of players. Sorry?
They've all got COVID now.
Yeah. Yeah, well that's what I mean is the thing. So we might see a little bit of drop off now, but when they get back, that's a really strong core of players that you can really challenge anyone and have challenged everyone. So I think they'll probably have enough in the tank to maintain that sort of top 8 position personally.
Yeah, I would see it being Southampton 8th, Villa 9th, and then 10th I would probably say Arsenal because I just think the whole Arsenal will not finish in the top half. There's no sort of rhyme or reason behind that other than I don't think they'll do well, but they're not going to finish outside the top half, so I'll put them 10th.
FA Cup win?
Oh God, they're not going as good. I think I'd even take Liverpool winning the FA Cup over Arsenal again. I'm not sick of it.
Jeez, it must be bad.
I need Mikel sacked.
Of course, for the Arteta agenda and nothing else.
I really dislike the bloke.
Even if your arch rivals win a major trophy,
he is no
as long as the Arteta agenda goes
he was like the best player you had for the last 20 years.
And Everton
before
fans
Lukaku.
Andre Gomez is all right, so don't listen to Everton fans.
He's Spanish, so therefore he's good.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Moving on to the bottom half, I think it's been a difficult season for Wolves. I think Aaron alluded to it before, but I think they'll just be top bottom half.
Yeah, I think they'll be about 11 or 12 personally. I think that the forwards they have, I think Jimenez is going to be a massive loss for them. I think Fabio Silva is nowhere near up to standard yet. He might come good later in the season, but for now, I just don't think he's as consistent as they need. And I just think that
if anyone's interested.
That's I don't know. I think he scored 1 goal against us, and that's it. Which is typical.
Yeah, I think Wolves will probably get better as we go on a bit. They have got a thin squad at the moment, which means they could get tired, but I've watched them quite a few times, and they've tried to transition from like a back three to a 4-2-3-1, and at times it's worked. But they're sort of using Fabio Silva, that's his name, the new forward with like the curly hair from Portugal.
Who seemingly got the ability of me up front.
Well, they're trying to use him as like a target man almost to replace Jimenez, and it just doesn't work.
What a dreadful signing!
It
that
looks
spending
no,
$40
it
million
looks
on an 18-year-old.
He looks more like an attack, like someone that plays in behind the striker than the striker, but he's still young.
I don't think the transfer fee was a bit insane for such a young player, but
It was, yeah.
I think it shows how important Jimenez is, and it's similar to Leicester in that Vardy gets injured, they're probably screwed. It's the same thing here. It has happened to Jimenez.
And I think the defenders need to get used to playing in a 4 as well. Like Cody's always been used to a back 3, and he's looked a couple of times like he needs to, like the back 3 really suits him. So they've got a centre back next to him. His name has slipped me for a minute, but he played really well against Arsenal, and they've got the players there. But I think it's just a season almost where Wolves need to write it off. And I think most football fans almost need to write this season off in terms of like just take it as it is. If you don't win, you don't win. Move on to the next one.
Yeah. Do we all agree Wolves will be 11th?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I'd probably say, so like I said, I think it's in that bracket between 9th to 11th.
Now, I'm going to make my prediction for 12th. Now, don't shoot me, especially George. Don't shoot me. I'm going to go Crystal Palace 12th on the basis that, apart from last season where everyone was on the beach by the time we came out of lockdown, Crystal Palace usually finish seasons quite well and usually finish 12th. I've got no other sort of evidence for this other than previous happenings.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I actually had us to finish 12th at the start of the season, because we'd actually looked like we made an effort in the transfer window for once, as opposed to last year where we just pretty much not signed anyone, apart from James McCarthy. But I mean, I still stand by that. I think we are just consistently inconsistent. I mean, we have tried to play more attacking and more expansive, and that's completely fired on us. So I don't think we'll try that for at least another 10 games, which is disappointing, because I think you should do it based on the opposition you're playing, not necessarily how well it works, like for certain games. Like, but regardless, like, I think, yeah, the big thing for us is going to be the summer. Obviously, everyone expects Roy Hodgson to leave. I still have my doubts. Like, I'm still suspecting the board might stick with him as just a safe option. But I mean, the fans would kick off if he did. They've absolutely fed up. They've made their mind up. So
even if it wasn't the best thing to happen, I'd still love him to sign another contract to annoy everyone.
I mean, I would too if I wasn't part of the fan base. I didn't have to hear it every day and drive me mental. But yeah, I think with the attackers that we do have, Zaha, Eze, Benteke on his day, I think that we do. They're not. We just haven't got enough consistency to break that top half, as well as the squads. Everyone thinks we have the squad to get top 10, but I completely disagree. I think everyone around us in that sort of top 12, 13 has just as good a squad as us, if not better. So that's really a tough ask. I think 12th is about where we are right now, personally.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would still say, apart from the Liverpool game where everything Liverpool had went in the net, and the Villa game, I still don't think Palace have been really bad, really, apart from them 2 games. I think they've just been...
Newcastle was pretty shocking.
That was actually really bad. I actually spent time watching that game. It was even too much for me.
That was worse than the Villa and the Liverpool for me, because at least Villa and Liverpool are decent sides. You could say they deserve to win it. Even the Newcastle fans were like, how the hell have we won that game? Like, what the fuck has happened there?
How did they win that game? Because they were even worse than you.
Yeah, exactly. I still don't know to this day. And like, that's one of those games where I feel like you've got to put your agenda to one side and say, look, these guys are here for the taking. If we'd actually gone at them a bit more, we probably would have got 1 or 2 goals and stuck the thing, because they wouldn't have had enough to come back because they were useless.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they aren't the best.
Even Joe Linton scored.
Exactly. That'll be his last goal before he leaves, I guarantee you.
Yeah.
Terrible player.
I mean, is he a terrible player, or is he being used badly?
I don't rate him.
He's been used badly, and that's a hill I'm willing to die on.
Okay.
I don't think he's been used very well.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. 13th. I don't think any of us expect Newcastle to finish 13th, but otherwise that would have been a great segue.
I think they finished 13th the last 2 seasons in a row, so it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Oh, that's a good point, actually.
I think Leeds might finish above Palace.
Yeah, possibly.
No,
Yeah.
they'll be knackered sooner.
I mean, I know everyone is banging on about Leeds constantly praising them when they lose 5-0.
They get beat about 8-0 every week and get praised for it.
Liverpool fans have been saying this since the first game of the season.
The media coverage is sickening, but to be fair to Bielsa, unlike Daniel Farke, he does actually get results, particularly against the teams around him. So there is a big if over stamina and if they fall off, but if they keep it up, I think 11th to 13th is about where they'll finish.
Yeah,
this is another one for your bingo cards, everyone at home, but literally, Leeds got more praise for getting beat 6-2 at Old Trafford than Burnley got for winning 2-0 at Old Trafford.
Yeah, totally agree.
So they're the levels we need to talk about here. So we just keep minding our own business. I think Bielsa's a good manager. He's not one of the best in the world, and he's not.
That's madness.
And he's also not someone who's infallible to criticism, and such as letting the bigger teams absolutely blitz him every time he plays them. So they were very good against us.
It's mad how he was named like the third best coach in the world. Not that anyone pays attention to those individual awards anyway, but it's madness.
He's going to get on the Premier League Manager of the Year nomination list, isn't he?
Probably.
Yeah. My word, if Bielsa and Dean Smith on the same thing, probably. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer probably on there as well, won't he?
I only like one of those managers.
I like Bielsa.
Do you know what? I don't hate him.
I like him.
You do hate him, though.
I like him. I like him like as a character. Like I think he's the sort of character I'd like at my football club. But in terms of, I just don't like the coverage around him. It sort of sours things.
Yeah.
I think Bielsa's a great manager, but there's a time and a place for the praise. When they get battered 5-0, that's not the right. Fair enough, they want to go at them. That's subjective. It's the fact that they get praised for conceding a bunch of goals.
Yeah. If you get battered 6-2 or 3-0, you can't say they played well. Like I don't care. I don't care how many shots on target they had.
Do you know why I like Bielsa? Because he refuses to speak English, and that pisses all the Brexit. That's why I like him.
Sitting on his stool.
Just so you know, Matt Sarri didn't speak English either.
I like Matt Sarri then.
It's a bit like Gareth Bale going out to Real Madrid and not learning the language for about 5 years.
Graham Potter will be writing down Dutch now as we speak, and he'll be speaking Dutch in every interview.
Just out of spite for Owen Parks.
Amazing. So 12th, 13th, Leeds and Palace.
Yeah, go on.
In any order.
I don't actually have Leeds in top 13. I've got Leeds. I think Leeds will finish 14th.
Oh, we forgot about West Ham.
Yeah, I was going to say everyone's favourite East London side.
I've got West Ham to finish. Yeah.
I've actually got West Ham 12th. As much as I would have loved to put them lower, just to annoy Alfie Jones. 12th will be a good season for West Ham. They'll fall off a little bit more so than Aston Villa. I'm going to say now. I think they've had a good season, and they'll be comfortable. But that's all I can really say. So I think it'll probably be West Ham, Palace, and Leeds in those three positions.
I agree with that. I just don't know what order.
Yeah, West Ham are a team I would back to fall off and be dragged into a relegation battle on paper. But to be fair to David Moyes, he's kept it up for this long. And even though a terribly run football club, he just seems to know how to keep West Ham above water. So I can't see them finishing any lower than 13th, 14th, personally.
No, I would agree with that. I personally think they'll be 14th, to be honest. I mean, that's really doing them harsh. I just think they'll be below Leeds.
Can I just stress that West Ham finishing 12th will be a good season, as much as Alfie Jones would like to disagree?
West Ham 13th or 14th would be a good season. They were really in real trouble last season.
Yeah.
And they don't have any strikers, really. Antonio's not a striker. He never was, really.
It's quite funny, actually, that he's a good player, but he's their best striker, but he's not a striker.
Yeah. So that's why I said Thomas Souček's up front too. Yeah, so I do think that's top 14. Moving on. I actually think finishing above Newcastle in 15th will be Burnley.
I don't know if they finish above Newcastle, but I definitely think they'll be.
Newcastle are so bad.
I've got them. I think about both these sides at the same time because I think they'll, like I said in my bracket, I can't say a definite position for either, but I think 15 and 16 will be Newcastle and Burnley. It seems like Sean Dyche has managed to sort Burnley out. They were very, very, very poor at the start of the season, but they should have enough to survive now. Which again, it might seem miraculous considering all the issues in the summer, considering the lack of transfers and the lack of quality in their squad.
Lord Alan Pace is on the game now, I'm telling you. Alan Pace is going to save Burnley football.
Yeah, I was going to say, for Burnley, the key for them is going to be this takeover. I mean, I like the sounds of him so far. He seems like he's saying the right things and has the right ambitions, but it is going to take them that 2 or 3 years worth of investment before they can really start to see themselves move up. So I think the thing with Burnley is they sort of have a bit on and off, where they'll have one season challenging in the top half, and then the other they'll be fighting relegation. So I do expect them to be up and around there next season if they get the right investment from their new owners. But for the time being, I think 15th is about the best they can hope for, and I think they'll probably be in a scrap.
I think they'll avoid the scrap. I think they'll finish above Newcastle. I just think they're on a better run of form at the moment. They've only lost 1 in 6. They've kept 4 clean sheets in 6. I think they'll finish 15th personally. I think Newcastle though in 16th they're really struggling. I think they just struggle for goals for me, and I've been one to sort of come to Steve Bruce's defence at times during his reign in Newcastle, but
the fans are sick of it now.
No, because they should be sick of it for a lot longer, because Rafa Benitez played as bad, if not worse, football. So it should be the whole sort of malaise of Mike Ashley they should be really sick of.
I think Brighton might finish ahead of Newcastle, maybe even Burnley as well.
You've got to win a home game first.
Brighton will be lucky to finish ahead of 3 teams, let alone Newcastle.
From what I've seen of Brighton, they've created a lot of chances, but
because that's how you win football matches. That's exactly why they're down there, you pleb.
I know, but I think from what I've seen, I'm not claiming to be an expert on Brighton. I've not watched that much, but I think they've played all right when I've watched them. I know at the start of the season anyway.
How many home wins have they got this season?
Isn't it 0 in like 2020?
Yeah, they won 1 in 2020.
They've got no home wins this season. RB Leipzig won more games against home games against English teams
We've essentially
got did in 2020.
We've essentially got 2 pro-Potter and 2 anti-Potter.
I'm just anti-Brighton. I just want to make fun of Graham. I'll make fun of their manager, whoever it is. I hate Chris
Palace-Brighton rivalry again.
We'll get onto the rivalry. We'll do a podcast on the whole podcast on the rivalry at some point. But back to Newcastle. I think that with Newcastle, like Steve Bruce often gets compared to Roy Hodgson, but with Roy Hodgson's Palace, we at least have a plan, and you know how we're going to play, even if it is the same way 9 out of 10 games. There's at least an idea there, and you know what players we're going to try and utilize. With Newcastle, I genuinely have no idea what their game is. Like, what do they try and do? Try and get it to St. Maximin and hope he does it, but he's been injured the last couple of games. So what do they do now?
You've just realised you compared Roy Hodgson, who's been into 2 European finals, to Steve Bruce.
Has Roy Hodgson been to 2 European finals?
Twitter's got to me. What can I say?
With like Inter, I think.
Yeah.
One with Fulham, obviously.
Inter and Fulham.
Owen, you need to mention that more often.
I really do, yeah.
Yeah.
I spent a full season last season bemoaning how we got minus 40 million to spend the previous summer, and he still moaned that Palace weren't good going forward, even though.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the thing about him, that is one thing that sort of irritates me, is because like last year he had the perfect excuse because we didn't have any investment, and he still kept us. We were challenged for the season. Hadn't had awful drop off. It would have actually been a good season. But this year we have actually spent more in the transfer window. Not loads, but we've brought in some good players. And he's still complaining about a lack of squad depth. Literally, you could build an entire separate first 11 with just our bench, and he's still not using them. So that's where my sympathy runs.
You're not really counting with him in this,
because that's just Max Meyer doesn't even make the bench, so no.
Yeah, thank God for that. Because Max Meyer is in the mud.
He's apparently Kölner looking at him. It might be going back to the Bundesliga, which hopefully he does, because we need to get him off the wage bill as soon as possible.
Yeah, he's never getting used again.
Yeah, which I think is a shame because all right, he's not the Wunder kid that we were sold on when we first signed him, but I think he still does. He has shown what he can do on occasion, and I just feel like if we just had a better plan B and had a separate system that we could get the most out of him, I think he could be quite useful. But I think that ship's probably sailed. So
Yeah, but you've got Everett Eze now, so like, come on.
yeah, we do. But also, number one, Eze's like, there's every chance Eze could get injured, and two, they'd be a really good sort of pair of number 10s to have if we want to try 4-2-3-1, which I think we should, because I think that's the system that works best with our players. Just make sure we don't employ Marco Silva to actually do it.
Yeah, I know, but Eze's just so good.
No, I'm not saying Eze shouldn't start over Maya. He absolutely should, but I'm saying there's no reason we couldn't rotate the two if they were used properly. But regardless, that's not happening, and I'd much prefer to keep Eze than Maya, so I don't really want to dwell on it.
Yeah, Eze's brilliant. But Newcastle anyway. I think they'll be finishing 16th. I think that them and Burnley, I think for different reasons, will just do enough to stay up.
Yeah, agreed.
And 17th is the big call. I'm going to start off with it. I'm going to say Fulham will finish 17th.
Well, we knew that one was coming because the other team that is in this.
Well, I mean, I could have said West Brom and totally gone with the agenda.
Oh, come on. We all know West Brom are going down.
Yeah, we do. But I still could have kept it going for another 10 minutes.
Has Allardyce ever been relegated? Except, was he relegated with Sunderland or something?
No, he kept Sunderland up.
Been relegated. That's all he goes on about.
It was David Moyes who took Sunderland down.
Oh, right.
Big Sam kept them up.
Okay, look, I think Brighton will finish 17th, and I'm not gonna speak on this for ages. The Graham Potter agenda hasn't gone. If he gets sacked, then I've got a couple good reasons for this. One, it means it just hasn't worked out, and that's a hill I'm willing to die on. And two, it just means I can back Graham Potter to Watford.
It just hasn't worked out.
They spent about 80 million while he's there. How could he have the excuse it's just not worked out? He has built that team, and it's still not getting results.
This guy is Neil Maupay up top.
He bought him.
Yeah, exactly. He's their record
He bought Danny Welbeck.
Hey, Danny Welbeck's done alright for them, to be fair.
He gives Aaron Connolly oxygen.
I forgot you don't like Aaron Connolly, to be fair.
I like Potter more than I like Aaron Connolly.
Okay, that's a statement.
I think probably Burnley will be 17th, I think.
Oh, behave.
I don't think that's such an outlandish shout that Burnley, who are currently 16th,
the thing about Brighton, though, is
the
thing about Brighton, though, they don't actually lose that many games. They draw a lot of them and blow a lot of wins, and that is usually enough to just sort of scrape enough points. And the thing as well is they always seem to get a win when they need it. Like that Arsenal game was the only one they won all season, the only home game they won all season. Basically kept them up from that point onwards and kept them out of the battle. So I don't know. I just think for 17th, I think West Brom are going to finish 17th. I think they'll do it. I think
really?
No, yeah, because I think the thing is, like, the thing with Allardyce is this always happens. Like, at Palace, he lost 4-0 to Sunderland, and then we beat Arsenal and Chelsea and Liverpool and managed to stay up. All right, we had a better squad at the time, I would argue. Yeah, we had a better squad at the time, I will argue, but I think this January window is going to make or break it for him. They've already apparently brought Snodgrass in, who I think is a good player for relegation. Because he's a good player for a relegation battle. Because he'll give a lot, and he's got enough about him that he can make stuff happen for them. I think he's the sort of player that will do well at that at West Brom, and exclusively West Brom.
I agree with that.
They really need centre backs is the thing. Yeah, they need centre backs is the thing. They've been linked with a couple of hours, but I don't think they'll get them. Especially as Saka looks like he's on his way to Nice. I don't think we want to sell anymore. But if he needs to shore up that defense is the main thing. But the thing is, it does always take. Yeah.
Sam Allardyce will never go for Saka.
Please take Shank's out. Yeah, no, Saka would be great for them. But I don't like. I think around February time is when we'll start seeing results change, like a proper upturn. Because right now he just hasn't been there long enough, and Bilic has left him an absolute woeful defense. So I don't think you can place any blame on him just yet.
Is that next Crystal Palace manager Slaven Bilic?
Well, no, because he's gone to China now, hasn't he? So we can't snap him up.
China, yeah.
Yeah.
Bloody hell. They'll give anyone a job over there, wouldn't they?
He's just gone to get out of COVID.
Graham Potter for China when?
Just go for a year until we get rid of COVID here.
Yeah.
pick up a paycheck. I think West Brom will go down because with Allardyce, yes, he's performed miracles in the past, but I feel like this West Brom squad is just purely Championship quality. And like you say, this January window, Snodgrass, if he signs, will be a good signing. I know has he officially signed? I've seen he'd left West Ham. But
Sam Allardyce said he was joining.
They're supposed to announce it tomorrow, I think.
yeah, and that's a good signing. But as you say, that defence is just poor. And I don't care if you're Sam Allardyce. And I know they drew against us. I know they drew against us, but they can't do that every single game. We were literally playing. They had 10 men inside their own area at one point. They had for a lot of the game. They had 11 men inside their own 30 yards. They got a point, but that's away. Like at a big team, you can't expect to win games like that when you're playing Sheffield United and Burnley.
Oh, I've watched 6 months of Sam Allardyce. There's no bounds.
The thing with Allardyce is I wouldn't be backing West Brom to stay up if I hadn't seen him already do it with Palace, because apart from that last 2-3 months where we played like we were practically the best team in the league, we were absolutely awful. Like we were going down, no question. Like we lost. Sunderland didn't win a game for about 2 months after they smashed us, and they hadn't won a game 2 months before that. So if he can do that with us, I think he can do that with them.
I hope West Brom go down with Sam Allardyce, just because when we sacked Quique Sanchez Flores, people had to go at me for not wanting Allardyce because I said he was too similar to Quique, and it would make no difference.
He would have kept you up for the record. He would have kept you up.
I'm still saying that. However, what I would say is the only way I will back Allardyce to keep West Brom up is if he takes Troydini off our hands.
No, we're getting Tosin off us.
He'll get them both.
Good.
It'll be a Tosin Dini 4-4-2, and then they'll storm the league 1-0.
That is one of the most painful attacks I've ever heard of.
That is the biggest dad's army from 2. That's Dini and Tosin.
And we'll all be laughing all the way to the bank.
Amazing. And will Sheffield United finish bottom? Yes or no?
I think we've all come to the conclusion of
100%. I mean, I saw them. I mean, the Palace game the last week. I mean, everyone was dead certain we were going to lose that game because it was just set up for us. You know, no win in 16, and the way we've been playing, that was their best chance to win of the season, and they were absolutely useless. Like we weren't even that good. We did the job, but they offered us absolutely nothing. They didn't have a shot on goal for about 40 minutes. So I really can't see them even getting a win this season if this carries on, even though they'll probably scrape one somewhere.
So I think they're going to win against Newcastle.
That's I forgot they had Newcastle next. That's a good point. That's the game they need to win. That's the only way they're going to string a run together is to beat Newcastle.
Home, that's it.
Have they got 3 points yet?
2 points you've got.
I think with Sheffield United they've had a lot. They have been unlucky at times, and the start of the season I felt sorry for them because they had Jack Stevens injured and they were creating chances, but now after Chris Wilder was mean to Klopp, they can go down.
No, we won't.
They've got serious beef, Chris Wilder and Jurgen Klopp now.
No, we wasn't. He didn't even mention Jurgen Klopp. Jurgen Klopp decided to bully him because he didn't want 5 subs, and he hasn't even used 5.
Yeah.
Klopp and Pep use about 2 subs a game, but 5 subs. Explain to me that one.
I can do, because over the course of the season, it means you can rotate more players and prevent all these injuries. What do we think about Scott Parker?
He's all right.
He's all right. He hasn't been back. Well, yeah, they've spent a fair bit on players, but they haven't got that good players. So
I think he's too beige to offend anyone, to use an Owen Price term.
There's a lot of people who are beige and offend me, as in Eddie Howe.
Yeah, with Fulham, I just think they're not a terrible side, but they
play good football at times. Fulham.
I don't know. I just can't see 3 teams worse than them. Like I think West Brom and not West Brom. The Sheffield United and Brighton are about the best they can hope for. I just think, I don't know.
I think Sheffield United will be brought bottom because they're just horrendous. West Brom will be 19th because they're also terrible, and then you've got Fulham and Brighton who will fight it out.
I think if he keeps Fulham up, that's quite a big achievement, to be honest.
do
Even
that.
though
Yeah,
they did spend
Take
money.
Bielsa off the manager of the year, sure, just to put
They
Scotty
did.
Park
They
on
did
his
spend money, but still, the start of the season,
We
the
all had
squad
them bottom.
wasn't looking great.
We all had them bottom.
Yeah.
Well, I did anyway.
I think I might have had West Brom actually. I can't remember. Anyway.
I think West Brom have got a chance, but they need a good January window.
Yeah.
What do you need?
Yeah.
Tosin.
The weird thing is, I actually think Allardyce would get them playing because Tosin especially actually got a fair few goals when he was manager of you lot. So you never know.
I don't know. I feel like Tosin's got even slower in the years he's not been at Everton.
Yeah, it's not players you want to
generally
gamble on.
horrific.
Does there always have to be one striker at Everton which everyone's got an agenda against? Like, it was Nias wasn't allowed a locker. No. Now it's Tosin's not allowed in the training ground.
No, that's just me saying he shouldn't be allowed in the training ground. He's actually allowed it.
Is he? Oh, he's got higher ranking than Nias did then.
I keep telling him how great Croydon is this time of year.
To be fair, it can't be much worse than any other time of the
year. Or Hertfordshire or Anfield. I mean, any of them will do.
Can he play centre back?
Probably can.
He would probably do a better job there than he would up front.
I'll just say, Ken Tosin would probably come in as Watford's best striker, and he still wouldn't play.
Yeah.
Because Troy Deeney wouldn't let him.
Exactly.
So there you have it. An eventful episode of the Parks and Bennis podcast again with George and Sam. Thanks for everyone for coming on. Yeah, I think all the agendas were covered today, and I'm sure you'll see us again sometime soon in the coming weeks to discuss the Premier League and all its faults and pluses. If it's not suspended due to a mass outbreak of a deadly virus. So we'll see you soon. Bye.